The war on drugs increased drug use. The Affordable Care Act made healthcare utterly unaffordable. Hey, gang, wild question, I know. What do you figure the Inflation Reduction Act won't reduce? Well, old faux moderate mansion and Amy Schumer's hairplug P-Pop himself at last ceased their stalemate around the passage of the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. Quite a word passed. Anyone reading anything into the fact that we employ the same verbiage for the enaction of shitty laws as for kidney stones, turds, and fucking death? Why do I say it's the so-called Inflation Reduction Act? Well, when fully 495 pages of a 725-page draft are devoted to the self-same global warming initiatives presently pushed by the World Economic Forum, courtesy of a bald Bavarian dressed like Prince Shizor from fucking Star Wars, I think it's safe to say this shit has more pork than the vegan sausage at Dollar General. Before I start burning moles off this hairy asshole, there's really only two numbers you need to commit to memory to understand precisely how sky-smashingly shit this law actually is. 30 billion and 369 billion. 30 billion is the figure the government will theoretically save in inflation if all the promised planets align after this law is shoved up the public's pooper. Because, you know, apparently stopping the fucking printing press at the Federal Reserve is just too Olympian a feat to fucking ask for right now. 369 billion, meanwhile, is what this law prescribes in new global warming spending alone. 369 and 30, or the age differential between Joe Biden and the last 5 girls he fucking sniffed. Now, I may not be much on math, at least not once I got into high school and they started adding the alphabet to it, but even I know 369 is considerably more than 30. Unfortunately, 4/3 of all Americans don't understand fucking fractions. And so passing a pork sandwich and calling it the Happy, Fluffy, Pettin' Kittens Act of 2022 works with an awful lot of these leering retards. Just how much statist nonsense did they pack into this bullshit burrito? Well, 64 billion goes to funding and extending Obamacare for 3 more utopian fucking years. You remember Obamacare, folks? The evergreen wonder law that ensures you pay 3 times as much for health care as you did in 2007 for about half as much fucking coverage. The law would also empower Medicare providers, which Obamacare ensured were, in function and practice, an extension of the goddamn government, might I add, to negotiate the price of prescription drugs. Now, to cut through the haze, you remember when Kamala Kankles at a campaign rally in 2020 offered up this little ditty?
We are going to set drug prices based on fair market. So for any drug where they fail to play by our rules, and if that drug came about because of federal funding for what's called R&D, research and development, I will snatch their patent, so that we will take over. And yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. It's the question is, do you have the will to do it? I have the will to do it.
Yeah, well, evidently in the interim, she'll simply be settling for government price controls by proxy, an economic policy that puts us in the fine fucking company of fascist Italy and Nazi Germany, in case you were curious. The price tag attached to that particular policy? Oh, only 288 bill, bitch. But I think my favorite chapter of this particular tome is when the law allocates over 300 billion to, and I quote, defray deficit spending. Only the cunts in Congress could spend twice the money they'll save on fucking saving it. These are the kind of people who would play high-stakes solitaire, folks. I mean, your first clue this bill's a game of no-card Monty is the fact that it attempts to employ government action to address inflation, which was caused by government fucking action. Sure, why not pump the fire hydrants full of kerosene? This is essentially Keynesian economics on crack, which is sort of ironic as Paul Krugman, perhaps the most visible Keynesian cockholster in national politics today, was forced to publicly admit he was A1 fucking wrong about inflation being transitory just this past week, at more or less the exact same time that a law was being authored in Congress employing the self-same shitty logic he just conceded was mistaken as its core economic basis, might I add. Bottom line, people, the only action government can take to genuinely reduce inflation involves a congressional potluck, rat poison, and a punch bowl, bitch. And here again, heading into the midterms with primaries in many states over the next 2 weeks, you may want to go ahead and file this skull-splitting fuckwittery away as you head on into the ballot box, because not merely the establishment left, but rolling fields of rhinos came across the aisle to fuck you flush in the wallet. And they're doing so mere months before you decide whether they get to keep their jobs or not, which is really what this bill's about to begin with. An embattled Democratic Party and rhino establishment frantically fumbling for a winning issue to take back home to their increasingly hostile voters, even as they stared down a double-barrel butt-fucking in the midterms. The good news? Even most of the motherfuckers pushing it appear to acknowledge it likely ain't gonna work. The LA Times, Rasmussen, and Gallup all ran recent polls that showed even the shadow puppet Punch and Judy show over abortion and gun control couldn't energize those issues to crack the top spot on controversies that actually matter to voters. As you may have guessed, folks, inflation dwarfs every damn one of them. Just yesterday, a former advisor to Hillary grudgingly admitted these midterms will be about money, not memories, which presents a terminal political diagnosis for much of the mono party, with more America First candidates on the ballot than ever before in an election cycle. I'd love to say this last-second scramble to appear to be doing a damn thing at all, while in fact appeasing lobbyist donors is proof the spirit of FDR and the New Deal remains alive, but truth be told, people, this haunting seems much more likely to belong to the ghost of John McCain, his final floppy arm gift to the state and indeed country he wasn't even born in. Well, okay, maybe his second to last gift after going the fuck away. Because believe me when I say, when John McCain died, everyone passed into a better world. I'm Razor Fist, God fucking speed.
We're sending stuff over to the Senate. Well, most of the product that we've done is, except now we may have added in the last day or so, and some of what we added is Senate to the bill, like a hearing. Bernie doesn't like hearing. Excuse me, Bernie loves hearing. Manchin doesn't want hearing in the bill and all that stuff. So some is Senate-oriented, and then we have the family medical need. We figured if they're putting things in, then we can put something in, even if Manchin doesn't like it. So we are getting some bird and privilege. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable, it's important. You have to take it out, but privilege violation can take you out. So we're, again, getting that as we go along as well. But when we pass a bill, then they will see it in its aggregate and make some...
Any concerns that any of this is, quote, messaging, because that they have to take some of those things out regardless, no matter what you send over? You said you weren't going to send a messaging bill. No,
we're not sending a messaging bill, but we want to be sure that what we send is not birdable or bird bath or privilege scrub. They're the two exercises we're engaged. Bathing